Presented by listenheadlines.com, latest world news from trusted sources. Wall Street Journal World News.
June 19. 4:18 America, New York. Xi to meet Blinken Monday as U.S. China resume high-level engagement. Xi Jinping is set to meet Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Beijing as the Biden administration seeks to restore high-level engagement and prevent misunderstanding on a range of economic and social issues.
Wall Street Journal World News.
June 19. 4:08 America, New York. SVB Securities to be acquired in management buyout. The investment banking business tied to Silicon Valley Bank will go back to being called Leerink Partners.
Time.
June 19. 4 o'clock America, New York. Amazon, Marriott, and other companies vow to hire thousands of refugees in Europe. London. Multinational companies including Amazon, Marriott and Hilton pledged Monday to hire more than 13,000 refugees, including Ukrainian women who have fled the war with Russia, over the next 3 years in Europe.
Mirror World News.
June 19. 3:51 America, New York. YouTuber accused of killing boy, 5, in horror crash while filming Lamborghini stunt. YouTube content creator Matteo Di Pietro, 20, was one of 5 influencers riding around in the luxury Lamborghini sports car and were taunting other drivers as they passed in Rome, Italy.
Washington Post World.
June 19. 3:46 America, New York. A week after reviving at her wake, woman is now dead, doctors say. Bella Montoya, an Ecuadorian woman who was declared dead but later heard knocking on her coffin, has been declared dead again after a week in intensive care.
Washington Post World.
June 19. 3:12 America, New York. Blinken to meet China's Xi Jinping, part of effort to soothe tensions. The talks will cap 2 days of meetings aimed at lowering tensions between the two superpowers, although the most bitterly contested issues remain unresolved.
Wall Street Journal World News.
June 19. 3:07 America, New York. Michelin buys high-tech fabrics engineer. Michelin has acquired Flex Composite from private equity firm IDI for €700 million, expecting the deal to gradually increase its underlying earnings margin.
New York Times World News.
June 19. 3 o'clock America, New York. In Argentina, inflation passes 100%, and the restaurants are packed. Argentina's financial crisis has a surprising side effect: a flourishing dining scene in Buenos Aires, as residents rush to spend pesos before they lose more value. Street food patrons in an alley hotspot near Chinatown on a chilly May evening in the Belgrano neighborhood of Buenos Aires.
New York Times World News.
June 19. 3 o'clock America, New York. Russia sought to assassinate an informant in the U.S. A failed plot to assassinate a CIA spy in 2020 in part led to expulsions of the agency's chief in Moscow and his Russian counterpart in Washington. The clandestine operation represented a brazen expansion of President Vladimir V.
Washington Post World.
June 19. 3 o'clock America, New York. Ukraine Live briefing. Zelensky praises troops for limited gains in counteroffensive battles. The United Nations called out Moscow for blocking humanitarian aid shipments to Russian-controlled areas of Ukraine affected by the Kakhovka Dam collapse. New York Times World News.
June 19. 3 o'clock America, New York. In rush to arm Ukraine. Weapons are bought but not delivered, or too broken to use. Some of the weapons sent to Ukraine by other countries have been unusable, and hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts paid up front have yet to be fulfilled. A Ukrainian soldier preparing to fire an American-made M109 self-propelled howitzer toward Russian troops stationed in the city of Bakhmut in April.
BBC News World.
June 19. 2:31 America, New York. Alexei Navalny, Putin critic facing decades in prison as new trial begins. The Russian opposition leader faces multiple charges of extremism, which he says are politically motivated.
World News. Breaking international news and headlines. Sky News.
June 19. 1:54 America, New York. 3 dead and 29 injured in Israeli West Bank raid. 3 Palestinians have died and 29 others have been injured during a raid by Israeli troops in the occupied West Bank. Israel and AMP. Number 39. Military said it had launched the raid on Jenin to detain Palestinians suspected of attacks.
Time. June 19. 1:30 America, New York. Secretary of State Antony Blinken meets top China diplomat as trip sees positive start. Chinese President Xi Jinping will meet with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, a signal that a highly anticipated two-day mission to China is stabilizing strained ties between the world's largest economies.
Mirror World News.
June 19. 1:20 America, New York. Russian forces strike Ukrainian troops with explosive-packed suicide tank. Terrifying footage from the Donetsk region showed a remote-controlled T-54 tank, stuffed full of 6 tons of explosives, creeping towards a trench full of Ukrainian troops.
BBC News World.
June 19. 1:03 America, New York. Ukraine war. BBC on the front line as Ukraine attacks Russian trenches. Quentin Somerville joins troops pushing eastward from a recaptured village in Donetsk.